listening to Party Time, My Golf Story with Kevin Walsh and whatever special guest he has today. You can check me out on episode 9 of the podcast. Today I'm wearing Grayson clothes while I'm out practicing because I believe in look good, play good. And follow me on Instagram, Sophia Warren Golf, and hope you enjoy the rest of the show.
It's Party Time, My Golf Story, brought to you by Party Drinks. Classically designed golf drinks for golfers by golfers. And the golf real estate pros Gene Walsh and Vince Vizzacaro. For your Southwest Florida real estate needs, check them out at suncoastdreams.com. Now here's your host, Kevin Walsh.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the program. We have a good one. Michael Brown, the president of the First Tee of Greater Philadelphia, is our guest. He is an old golf friend of mine. We didn't play a lot of golf together, but there was one memorable time that we did, and we're going to get into it because something happened during the course of that round. How's that for a teaser? But we were always around each other like concentric circles. If you were on the amateur golf scene in Philadelphia or any other major city, even if you didn't know somebody directly or play a lot of golf with them, you felt like you did. And that's what Michael Brown was to me. Former All-American at Temple University, former assistant golf coach at Temple University, won the Philadelphia Open as an amateur. And that same year, he was the medalist at the Philadelphia Amateur, in which he was the stroke play before it went to match play. He's played in 4 U.S. mid-amateurs. He's played in 1 British mid-amateur and 3 U.S. pub length stuff. He is as gritty as you can get. City kid who took on all the suburban kids and kicked their asses and enjoyed doing it too, except when you were on the receiving end of it. Mike Brown is our guest. Before we go any further, if you don't mind, if you haven't subscribed to the podcast just yet, would you please do so? Because that matters to the nerds at YouTube, Spotify, Apple, and also our title sponsors. And leave some comments because that helps as well. Big thanks to our title sponsor, Party Drinks. If you're looking for a drink alternative on the golf course and you're tired of beer because it makes you feel fat and you can't make a good backswing, try a Party. Real golf cocktails for golfers by golfers. Transfusion is the #1 drink. And if you don't have Party being served at your golf course, especially in Florida, then get in touch with Paradise Craft Distributors, which is the exclusive distributor in the state of Florida. And a big thanks to the golf real estate pros of Gene Walsh and Vince Vizzacaro, suncoastdreams.com, division of fine properties in the greater Sarasota area. If your dream is to live on a golf course in the greater Sarasota area, there's no better place than Lakewood National Golf Club, where this podcast originates from. And it's a good time to buy in the summer because all the snowbirds have left. Prices have come down. And by the way, Jean is I think she's going to make an appearance a little bit later on in the show. So enough of that. There's the man of the hour, Michael Brown. How are you, my friend? My God, I haven't seen you in years. What have you been up to?
Kevin, great to see you. Thanks for having me on. I look forward to it. You know what? Being a dad, still got 3 girls, grown, but yet, they're still part of my life in a big way. So it's fun. Full-time First Tee guy, too. I know you had Bill Heineman on in the past. Great leader, has really helped us kind of propel things at First Tee, Greater Philadelphia. We just got our rankings. We were ranked #1 in the country again out of 155 chapters. So kudos to Bill and the entire staff at First Tee. Great at what they do and very passionate about changing one kid at a time.
Did you play golf today?
I did play golf today. It was a fun day. I had the opportunity to go to Marion. I played with, in the Eagles Autism Challenge, I played with the largest human being I've ever been around in my life, with Jordan Mailata, who was 6'8", 370 pounds, gentle a giant as you'd ever want to meet.
Hold on a minute. Okay, that is enormous. I've seen him in pads. Does he look just as big? And I mean, does he wear golf clothes well?
Let's put it this way. Everybody else had an Eagles shirt on with Marion logo on the chest. They couldn't find a shirt big enough for him, so he wore the Lord of the Rings shirt today.
Okay. At Marion, no less.
Yes.
That is fantastic. What's the story about the picking the ball out of the hole?
So the caddy says to me, he goes, Brownie, look at his hands. And I look at his hands. He goes, wait till you see him try and get out of the hole. His hand was so big, he couldn't get his hand into the hole to pick the ball out of the hole. I've never seen that before. Have you ever seen that?
No. That would be a first for me. My God, what a Hopefully he doesn't walk in your line too, because it'd be tough to make the putt after he leaves his footprints behind. But
size 18, by the way, size 18 shoe.
Nice guy though. You enjoyed it?
Very, very, very nice, very talented, musically inclined. But he was a rugby player that came to the U.S., had never played football before. They drafted him in the 7th round as a project, and now he's an all-pro, and he signed for like $112 million for 5 years. So he turned into one of the great left tackles in all football right now.
Well, nobody saw that coming, and I imagine in some ways, Michael, nobody saw you coming. Your entry into the golf game was a little bit different than a lot of the privileged kids around Philadelphia. Take me back to the roots. Where'd you grow up in the city?
So I grew up in a section of the city called Roxborough. Fortunately for me, I lived on the first green of a public golf course, an illustrious par 62. You may have had to play there 4,640 yards, of which is now our first tee headquarters. And literally, I would sneak on every day. I could play 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and nobody would see me because the clubhouse started at 1 and ended at 7. So I played those holes all the time. And the other thing is, I fell in love with the game where hitting golf balls was my friend. I would go to the baseball field, which was along the second hole, and I would hit wedges from the right field corner to the left field corner and go pick up 30 balls and hit them back right field corner to left field corner, and just fell in love with the game. And one of the reasons was a kid I grew up with pitched in the major leagues for 14 years, a guy, Mark Gubasaw, won 140 games in the majors, and we were in Little League together. And I'm like, boy, I'll never be as good as him. And so at age 12, I started to play golf. And, mom and dad were not golfers. I had a couple brothers that played, and, same thing, sneaking on, go away once in a while, big trip out, go to General Washington, a public golf course with more dog legs than the SPCA. I mean, that's how they put all the holes in. It was crazy. It was crazy. They need to issue a helmet when you paid your greens fee. They should give you a helmet because holes are going back and forth. It was really fun, but that was a big treat for me back then.
Michael Brown is our guest here on Part T Time, My Golf Story, brought to you by Part T Drinks and the Golf Real Estate Pros of Gene Walsh and Vince Visicaro. So you loved it as soon as you tried it. You did whatever you could to get access to golf, even somewhat illegally.
Yes.
But there's not a person alive that hasn't snuck on a golf course. Actually, I snuck on Marion with Hugh Riley.
Yes.
We made it half a hole before security appeared. And it was the West course. It wasn't the East course, the championship.
You weren't a good little theft of services then.
Well, it was a Monday. We thought there'd be nobody there, and then a cart appeared out of nowhere. All right, so that's the only sin I'm going to confess on it. Well, I might confess a couple of others. We're all sinners at the end of the day. So how good did you get, and how quickly did it all start coming together?
It's funny. I like to give credit to a lot of different people that gave me opportunity, whether it was the guys that would say, hey, you can play with us today. When we come up, we're only going to have 3. You can join us. And there was a local pro by the name of George Foster and a guy, Bill Erskine. And they, at the age of 14, they took me away. We went to this place called Skipback. And it was the first time I'd ever gone away from Walnut Lane, and I shot 120, but I felt pretty good about myself. It was the first time at 14. And the next year, I shot 96, and I'm like, man, this is pretty good. So now I'm a freshman in high school, and now the third year I shoot 80, and my fourth year I shot 66. And playing in high school, we weren't playing like kids from the private schools. We were playing kids that when they said they had a golf bag, they had to have a bag with their clubs. They thought it was a Glad trash bag, and they would have a driver, a 5-iron, a sand wedge, and a putter. And that's the kind of kids I played in high school. And then we'd play from the great Northeast, the schools that weren't inner city schools like Washington, which was a predominantly white school. And they would have some good players there. But it was a place to play and then learn how to play and learn how to compete. And that's what it taught me. I played soccer in the fall, played basketball in the winter, and I played golf in the spring.
I always felt like because of your upbringing for those that are not familiar with the Philadelphia scene, like what is Roxborough like? Tell me about the neighborhood.
Very blue collar, police, fire, teachers, lot of people that work in town, whether they're paralegals working in the legal world, gas station people, mechanics. My dad was a mailman. My mom didn't work. My next door neighbor worked at a car dealership. So it was a place where people worked hard. We really didn't want for anything. We loved our time. Grew up in the back drive. Probably 15 kids on the neighborhood in a row house. Those of you who don't know what a row house is, their houses connected about 1,300 square feet, of which there were 6 brothers and sisters in the Brown household with mom and dad. So there are 8 of us with 1 bathroom. Could you imagine that today, Kevin? Could you imagine telling your 2 daughters that they would have to share the bathroom with mom and dad? So they had to get up a little out earlier to get in before they went to school. Not
well, kids nowadays, they tell us what they need. I'm like, no. We need to distinguish between needs and wants. You need nothing. You want this. All right. Let's get that clear. So you grew up gritty and hungry. And did you do some gambling at Walnut Lane? Did that enter the mix in the golf?
It wasn't a gambling, but it was a place where you learn life skills. For example, everybody had a nickname like grown men: Squash, Frankie the mailman, Joe the bus driver, Midge. You're like, oh my God, these guys are 70 years old and they all have nicknames. I'm like, we don't have nicknames. It's kind of funny. But what we did learn is how to compete. You always played matches. There were a bunch of us around. They had like even you may have remembered, they used to have a thing called the Tri-State Golf Association, which was a public links event where they had individual events as well as team events. And I would play in all of them because when you're a little younger than me, not a lot, a little younger than me.
Well, hold on. How old are you?
63.
63. I'm 55. All right. Sorry,
so 8 years, I was running junior tournaments when you were coming around and you were hot shot before you went off to be a Boilermaker, but I would play in these events because, and this is the chip on the shoulder that I like to talk about. It is 1981 to 84, where I was playing really well in college. I couldn't play in the Philadelphia Amateur because you had to be a member of a private club. And I was never a member of a private club. And that to me didn't seem fair. But that's the way it is. And, it did, create a little hardship for me because that's how you kind of got recognized. You play in the Philly Junior or you play in the Philadelphia Amateur as a 16-year-old, but I couldn't play any of that. So I would play at Cobbs Creek in the Philly Junior. I'd play in the Philadelphia Amateur Open at Cobbs Creek, where it was a 72-hole tournament. And that was where I really cut my teeth while not having the opportunity, but playing in 3 U.S. Pub Links. And my junior year, when I won the Atlantic 10 Conference, it enabled me. I played in the Northeast, the Port of the Rice Planters, the Southern, and I did all that kind of stuff. So I got exposure, but couldn't play in the Philadelphia Amateur in my own hometown, but I could play in the Northeast Amateur. So yes, I did have a little chip on my shoulder, and yes, I still am bitter. Here I am 40 years later.
Well, do you still have a chip on your shoulder? Like when you play?
I don't. Was a good player for a bunch of years. Now it doesn't matter where I play; it's who I play with. I really, really love the game for what it's all about. The competitive side, the time spent, breaking each other's stones over different things, and just enjoying the day. We had a lot of that today with Jordan Mailata. I didn't say anything that a 6'8" guy could kill me over because I was scared he could just crush me with his bare hands. But we had fun. And the camaraderie, as that's what makes this game so great. The ability to have a conversation with somebody. You can go deep, you can laugh, you can cry, you can do all that kind of stuff in 18 holes. And being a business guy all these years, you know more about somebody in 4 hours playing golf than you could ever learn in any business meeting you would have or spend in an office.
Isn't that the truth? And I want to get into that in just a minute, but how many clubs are you a member at now?
I'm down. I'm down to 9. I'm down to 9.
Oh, okay. I knew it was at least 4 or 5. I didn't know it was that high. Let's tick them off the list here.
Okay. So I'm a member at Philadelphia Cricket Club, which is across the street from my house. Old York Road Country Club, where was the first club I ever joined. Gary Dietrich, who you remember, was a good player. His father sponsored me right out of school. Great Bay down the beach, Caves Valley, down in Florida, or in Maryland. I hosted the BMW this year. Great place. Played in the Mid-Am there in '97. Member at the Royal and Ancient of St. Andrews. And then I'm a member at the Union Lake, where we have the opportunity to be a member at all 3 golf courses.
That is cool. And the fact that you had the opportunity to do that, I know you owe it all to golf, but there was some good business acumen that you learned, along with some good tutelage from some members or mentors in your life. Tell me about Temple. Why there? Was there any other opportunities?
There was, and you mentioned Florida Southern when we were talking earlier. Charlie Matlock recruited me to come to Florida Southern, and he was going to make me an in-state resident, and it was going to be probably about $750 a semester for me to go there. And I went down, I did the visit. He was really nice. My mom and dad came. It was a great trip. But then I found out that he invited 48 others just like me to come, and only 12 people would have playing privileges. And in late May, the coach from Temple, I had just won something, and he came and he sat in my living room. He said to my mom and dad that he'll never play at Florida Southern, but at Temple, he'll have an opportunity. And he offered me a full tuition, half room and board. And I had received some other academic scholarships. I know you find that hard to believe, but I even with a guy with ADD, I was pretty smart. And so I could go to school for free. So I decided to choose Temple, which the golf coach there was kind of legendary. You've known of John. He's in the Golf Coaches Hall of Fame, coached for 30 years. And, he gave so much of himself for us to be really good that when he sat in my living room, my mom and dad said, there's a place I would love for my son to go, because that guy's going to take care of, and which he did.
So how was the experience?
The experience was great for a kid that never played. Remember when you used to get those Sandsabel pants? I remember going to school the first time. You got fit for a white shirt.
Well, Sandsabels may have been cool based on the time, the era that you were going to college.
You're right.
And we still had them at Purdue, and they were thoroughly uncool at that point. Everybody else was wearing Dockers.
Okay.
And khaki pants. You can't go wrong with khaki, right? Unless it's 100 degrees out, and then it looks like you got that swass going. But we had the polyester pants, but you had them too.
We had them too. Yes, I have a picture where in the NCAA's at Pinehurst, the guy took a side view of me and the Sandsabel. I had like 2 rolls hanging over top of the Sandsabel buckle. I'm like, oh my God, do I really keep that on my desk from 1983 at Pinehurst? And I'm like, yeah, I got to keep that. But those Sandsabel were a little tight for me, to say the least.
Well, the colors, cherry and white.
White.
I mean, how do you? I mean, there's not a lot of options there. I mean, are you wearing the cherry pants one day and the white tops, and then how do you do it?
Cherry. We wore cherry. We're like a steel gray, and then we wore a black, and then with the top we had a bright red shirt, so you would look like Tiger. You wear the black and red. You'd wear gray and white, and you'd wear burgundy and a gray. And, then you had a matching sweater, and we had a really cool logo. We had an owl's head inside the tee, which was really cool. And then when they changed the logo, they're like, you guys made your own logo. You can't be doing that at the university.
Are you the best golfer ever to come out of Temple?
I am not. I would love to say the one thing at Temple we have had, I think there's been 8 different All-Americans, which is a big deal for a school from the Northeast. There was a guy from Massachusetts, Jeffrey Sisk, great player. He was a freshman when I was a senior, and he made All-American 4 years in a row as honorable mention. But, it's hard to make All-American when you're playing in the Northeast and your stroke average is 73.7, and the guys in the South are playing when it's 75 and sunny, and we're playing when it's 42 and raining. So, but Jeff was a great player. I think he's played in 8 or 9 U.S. amateurs. And most recently, there's a young fella, Brandon Matthews, who a lot of people know. He hits at about 3,000 miles. I mean, it's just incredible.
I've seen it up close. You've played with Brandon before?
I have. I had him to the pro member at Old Memorial, where I was a member till last year. So I lost. I used to just put my gloves up. I'd say, how many are you? I'd say 10. But now I'm 9 because I took out Old Memorial.
So for those that have never seen Brandon Matthews hit a ball up close, why don't you describe what that's like?
First of all, when he's on the tee and where he's aiming, you're going, where is he aiming? He'll aim it like over a tree that's 100 feet tall, 100 feet off the tee, and he stands up and he hits it right over the top. And 350, 360, carried it in the air. I mean, they say Cameron Champ was the longest. I will tell you, I talked to some of the guys out there on tour, and they said Brandon is much, much longer than Cameron is.
Well, and he's got the butt. He looks more like an Olympic swimmer or a rower than he does a golfer, right?
Could be a tight end in the NFL too. 6'4",
right.
220.
Right. Yeah, he's got that muscle mass on. So I caddied for him at Concession Golf Club in Sarasota, and I thought the ball was going to split in two. I'm not kidding. I mean, he hit it. It's violent at impact. I've just never seen a ball come off the club face so fast. Tell me this. It's my guess he probably caves in 5 or 6 driver faces a year. Does that sound about right to you?
That sounds about right. And you know how you always say, oh, this guy hits it so far. So we sent him to Callaway, and I called in advance to Chip Brewer, and I said, hey, this kid hits it really far. And Chip called down to the fitters, and they're like, yeah. Everybody said it hits it. And he hadn't warmed up yet, and his ball speed was 196. They said the fastest they had ever seen was Gary Woodland at 188 when he was really trying to hit it. And Brandon wasn't even loose yet and had it at 196.
The thing about Brandon, when he hits the ball, it's off the club face so far and it's so high, and then he flies it like 350. It's hard to see his ball because, I mean, a ball's like an inch, and then it's white, it's up in the sky, and it's hard to see it, and then it just lands really far away.
So, Kevin, you being a Philly guy, when you see somebody like that, and he hasn't made it yet, I still think he can. He had some back issues. What does it take to be a PGA Tour player? Because I know they all hit it far, but they don't hit it that far.
It's the head. It's the head and the heart. I mean, there's no doubt about it. I mean, if you just look at Zach Johnson, if he didn't have a wedge game, nobody knows who that guy is. But that guy's got a heart. He's got a work ethic. He's got a grit on him. And because if you go to any PGA Tour event, and we host a Corn Ferry Tour event here at Lakewood National, and you watch the guys on the range, and I followed them around tee to green, and they look great. Around the greens, they need some work. Now, I don't know if they're not practicing that hard enough, or it's a skill deficiency. I mean, it could be both.
Well, you've seen enough, you know, but they all do hit it about the same now. I mean, there's some guys that are a little longer. We just had the Truest at Philly Cricket a couple weeks ago, and you watch them on the range, and you just can't believe how far they hit it. They thought they built the range. It was 305 uphill. They thought that was big enough, and they were launching it over top of the upper tee. Like, okay, we're going to have to build a new range.
Well, when I was in college, I was a little longer than average, about 51, 52%, probably averaged about 265 off the tee. And the really long guys were 300. And that seemed like miles. Now, for major division or any college, it starts at 300. Okay, that's where it starts. And then the ultra long guys are like 350, and they hit it straight.
I think they're taking, when you send the file in now, if you send your swing in, they're asking how far you hit it, like your swing speed and all that kind of stuff. And if you're not close to 300, they're not even looking at you at the big power schools in Division I.
Isn't that crazy? Because back then, nobody cared. It's like, he's long, but we just cared about score and the character of the person. Let me take you back to, I think we played just one time together, the Linwood Hall Challenge Cup at Huntington Valley. I must have been in college. And so you would have been in your early 30s. And there was an incident on the 13th hole in which I think you hit it pretty tight. Yep. And you at least 4-putted, if not 5-putted. And it was the yips. And it was unsettling to me. I can only imagine how it was to you. Do you remember that?
I do. I've had a couple of those black moments, I'll call them, where I'd like to black them out. I don't know what I said, but one of the things I would say to people is, little old ladies can make 3-footers. What are you doing? So I don't know if that's what I said to you, but that was one of the things I would go to when it got so bad. I'm like, little old ladies make 3-footers. How come you can't make 3-footers?
That's not what you said, Mike. I'll tell you what you said, because I remember this. I looked over at you, and you just had this stunned look on your face, and you look like you needed help. And I just said, "Are you all right, Mike?" And you're like, "Yeah, that happens every now and then." And I'm like, "Well, I mean, can you get over it? And you're like, I think it was your first daughter. You said, I just start thinking about my daughter, and then I'm like, I'm okay. I know I'm going home to see her, and everything's going to be just fine. I thought that was a lovely thing to say.
I could see me saying that because you know what? As you know, when you have a family and you have a kid, my oldest, who's kind of my best pal, you don't have a favorite, but we spent a lot of time together.
No. Let's talk about favorites. I know I'm the favorite son in the family. I mean, that's a given. I don't know if it's true, but I like saying that because it pisses my brothers off. And there's nothing better than getting a rise out of your brothers.
Oh yeah.
But that daughter you were talking about, I think it was your first child.
First child, yes.
Yeah. Tell me about her. How's her life going?
Catherine was she was a pretty good athlete. She played travel softball, went to Florida with her, go to the nationals, do all that kind of stuff, played in high school. Always said she wanted to be in baseball. And sure enough, when she was in college, she worked for the Reading Phillies, which was her first job. Second year, she worked for the Philadelphia Phillies. Her third year, while she was in school at Loyola, she worked for the Orioles. And then she came back and went to work for the Phillies full time. And she's been there ever since, 13 years. Always wanted to be in.
Nice.
So someone that was capable of chasing their dream and got it. The good part is they would say to her, hey, your old man plays golf. Do you play golf? She's like, yeah, I kind of do. So now she figured out, Kevin, what a great game this is. She goes to play an outing. She hits it really far. Great eye-hand coordination. She's like, Dad, I won a long drive today. I showed up. They gave me a shirt. They gave me a sleeve of balls. She's like, this is great. And there was food every 5 holes. Now I know why you play this game. I'm like, yeah, I hear you. But she understood that not only is it a great game, it's fun. And really, have you ever been around anything where the social side is a big part of the game than golf? I mean, if you're playing tennis, you're chasing balls with somebody. You're playing golf, you hit a shot and then you walk for 250 yards having a conversation about, hey, how's your day? What your kids doing? What are you doing these days? There's nothing like it in this world. I mean, you can't think of another sport where you have an opportunity to communicate one-on-one about you and about, your opponent.
Well, the interesting thing, and this drives my kids a little bit crazy, just playing competitive golf, a lot of times you're playing with people you don't know. So it all starts with, hey, what's your name? Where are you from? And it starts the conversation. You're playing, you're trying to kick each other's ass. But there's time for that getting to know you in between. And I think just from a young age, having played with older people, it's just easy for me to talk to strangers. And it certainly helped me in broadcasting because I just go up to anybody and just start talking to them. I still do it in airports, anywhere. My kids are like, why are you going over and talking to that person? I'm like, because I felt like it. And they think it's the strangest thing in the world. But golf was such good training for that. And you mentioned, like, in business, just how golf reveals character. Why don't you tell me about how golf has helped you in business, and maybe share an example of where you learned a lot about a person and it was a good thing or maybe not a good thing, and a round of golf told you all you need to know about that person.
That is a great cue for me because I have two examples. One, the mentor side, a guy that was the CFO of Comcast, a guy, Mike Talent, very good player, member at Marion, ultimately a member of Pine Valley, but his brother Pat had won every one of the cocktail circuits. He won a U.S. senior amateur, made it to the Final Four of the Mid-Am, great basketball player. And Mike said to me one day, he said, Brownie, what you got to keep in mind is you got to have balance in your life. You got to have your family, you got to have your work, you got to have your golf, and you got to have your God. He goes, never let anything be greater than 40%. And that was a very, very valuable lesson for me that I could have fallen into that trap in my 30s playing golf. And we all know those guys that next thing you know, they're divorced. And that's because every Friday, Saturday, they're going to play and they forget their responsibility. One as a parent, one as a father, one as a husband. And that was a great lesson. The second was I was playing with a guy down at Caves Valley, entertaining prospect. I knew two guys really well, and I didn't know the third guy. And when we got done, I realized that guy couldn't keep score. And I'm like, I'll never play golf with that guy again. And that was a lesson. Like, what does it matter where you shot? Nobody cares. We're just playing golf here today and you're cheating. Like, what are you doing?
I think the cheating thing about stuff in any number of things is it's an honesty issue. And I don't think we compartmentalize stuff and say, well, just, I'm honest in everything else, but not in this. It's like either or you're not, right?
Yeah. Kevin, I always tell the joke, like somebody's like, oh my God, did you hear Joe? He's been cheating on his wife. And they're like, she's not very nice, blah, 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 blah. And the next week he's playing in the club event and all of a sudden he gets caught cheating. They're like, oh my God, he's the worst human being ever. The week before he cheated on his wife, he wasn't such a bad guy, but he cheats at golf. He's the worst human being ever. That just tells us what a value we put on the honesty, integrity of this great game that we love so much.
Yeah, you're right. What was the biggest win of your life and what did it do for you?
The Philadelphia Open was a really big win for me because people always refer to me as the Philadelphia Open champion from 1997. But winning the Atlantic 10 championship opened the door because remember the summer tournaments? If you won a conference championship, you got invited. So I got invited to the Porter in the Northeast and the Rice Planters. And then that kind of propelled me to play all summer, played in the pub links in those years. And next thing you know, I played for the college career circuit. I played in 5 majors per se in the summer. And that was a lot of golf. And then you're going right back into the fall where we played a lot. We would play 6 in the fall and we'd play 8 or 9 in the spring. So I would be playing golf, 22, 23 weeks a year, which was a lot. And kudos to my mom and dad. I get to play in the Northeast Amateur and they're driving me. I'm staying with a family. They're in a hotel and that was their vacation. And without them, who knows? I couldn't afford to do it on my own. I was pulling the carts out 6 to 10 at the golf course while I was at school, and I was umpiring baseball or refereeing basketball just to make cash so I could do it. And that's how I played golf. And my wife always used to say, even when you graduated from school, you used to umpire, and that was like our meal money. I'd do a triple header, $18 a game, and I'd make $54 for night. And she'd say, hey, I'm going to the store. Didn't you get cash tonight? And I'm like, yeah, but I want to hold on some for the caddy on Saturday. So what a strange world. What a great ride it's been. I'm so blessed. This game's been so good to me. I really try and pay it back because what it's done for me, I hope that one kid just like me will have the same opportunity.
Well, tell me about that. Do you see with the kids at the First Tee in Greater Philadelphia, do you see a lot of yourself in the kids that are coming through the door?
I really do. One thing is that I really believe these kids just need a chance. I mean, they don't come from a place where they're getting a meal every day. They don't have nice clothes. You'll find this funny. Jim Smith, at the end of the year, what he doesn't sell, he gives to us. There's kids walking all around North Philly with Philadelphia Cricket Club logos on, and they love it. They have no idea what it is.
Okay. So let everybody know who Jim Smith is. I know who he is, and I know a lot of our viewers and listeners will know who he is.
Jim Smith is the director of golf at Philadelphia Cricket Club. So he's very kind. He'll donate to us between $25,000 and $30,000 a year of apparel, of golf clubs, anything he doesn't sell in his 12 days of Christmas. And these kids love it. It's like Christmas for them the week before Christmas. We got them come in. They have a free shopping spree. You can take one of these, one of those. And these kids are so happy because they very rarely get any new clothes as it is. So it's really special. But in terms of seeing the kids, there's a lot of kids that, same as me, never played a private golf course, love the game. They're playing at a place called John F. Byrne in Northeast Philly that we run as a First Tee site. And these kids can play, given the opportunity. They've learned to be caddies now. Bill Heineman, our executive director, who you know very well, started a caddy academy. We have 125 boys and girls in that now that are caddying all over Philadelphia. I think last year they generated almost $200,000 in revenue for themselves. Besides becoming eligible for the J. Wood Platt Scholarship. So earning a buck, knowing what that buck's worth and doing something with that buck, that's really a life lesson. And I see these kids just like me. At the time, I was making $2.35 an hour. Now, caddying, they're making, $25 an hour.
Oh, easily. I mean, it's the best job in the world. I mean, I'm doing it full time now after this very mediocre broadcast career. It took me around the world. Oh, so what is the lowest round of golf that you've ever played, Mike?
Lowest round of golf I ever played was I shot 64 one time, which was 8 under as a casual round. But the best round I ever had, and Kevin, I'll ask you this question in reverse. How many perfect rounds have you had where you only made pars and birdies? Because that was my best competitive round. I shot 65 one time. I made 6 birdies, no bogeys, and 12 pars.
I know of, what my lowest round ever, I've done it twice, 65, 7 under. The first time I did it, I started with a bogey and I'm like, oh man, this ain't my day. Well, it turned out to be my day and then some. I think I only played 1 round of golf in my life where I didn't make a bogey. And the reason I remember it was a qualifier in college at Purdue and I made 18 pars.
Think about that though. How many rounds of golf you've played? How many rounds of golf I've played? And combined, we have 2.
Oh,
tells you how hard this game is.
I know, right? Isn't that crazy? Tell me a great golf story. I know you got a couple, but just ones that always bring the house down.
So since you're caddy, this was one of my favorites. So 2008, I'm caddying the senior PGA for Andy North. So Neil Oxman, a legendary caddy who caddied for Tom Watson in the British when he hit it over the green. And to this day, I still say it was Neil's fault, but we know it wasn't. The ball hit on a downslope and kind of ran away. And we're on the second hole. It's kind of a misty day. And Andy gets to his ball and he takes out a 7-iron and he rips it, goes right over the flag, over the greens, and it rattles around in the stands. And Tom Watson yells over, Brownie, great yardage. And he's like, just killing me. And I'm like, I didn't even give him a yardage. What is this? So they don't say anything to me. The rest of the round, I'm working hard with the yardage book. I'm running around crazy, all this stuff. We get done. Andy makes the cut. He thanks me. It was a great trip. Boom, boom, boom. Doesn't say anything. 6 months later, I'm with him and he says, hey, Brownie, remember on the second hole in the practice round? I said, yeah, that 7-iron you hit like right into the stands. I didn't even give you yardage. He goes, that's the only way we figured we could have shut you up was to embarrass you like that. And I'm like, oh my God, it took him 6 months to tell me that's not fair. And Tom Watson was yelling at me. And Neil says, an 8-time major winner is yelling at you because you can't do your job the right way. And I'm like, I didn't even give him a yardage. And that was pretty funny. And to this day, they tell that story.
You are a talker. I don't know who talks more, you or Chet Walsh, but together, like if you're in a threesome with you two, I might have to bring earplugs because
we're oxygen.
It never stops.
We're oxygen. Yeah. That's for sure. And then another one that was a moment of really fun, an accomplished for me. I was at the Homestead playing in this little event and I was playing with Sam Snead and Dan Quayle and this guy, Jack Vardaman. And on the 11th hole, I made a hole in one. And that night, the big dinner, 36 guys, and Jack Vardaman, he gets up and he says, today on the 11th hole, we don't normally call out individual accomplishments, but on the 11th hole today, Brownie made a hole in one. And I'm feeling like $1 million and my chest is out. And Sam Snead leans over and he says, son, no big deal. I got 33 of them. So that to me was really humbling and brought me right back to where I belonged. Like, okay, so you've got 1, I've got 33.
Holy smokes. Probably got you a pretty big bar tab too. Once it was announced, yes. It's like, that one's on Brownie. That one's on Brownie. Another one on Brownie. How impactful has golf been on your profound question as we're winding it down here? Michael Brown is our guest here on Par Tee Time. He is the president of the first tee of Greater Philadelphia, graduate of Temple University, All-American there, has played in a number of events, Philadelphia Open champion back in 1997. What would life be like without golf? Because I know how impactful it's been. Have you given that some thought?
I have over the years. And you might be old enough to remember Garrett Mice on Saturday Night Live when he said, baseball been very, very good to me. And I would tell you,
Manny Trio said that as well.
Did he? Okay.
Yeah.
Our second baseman for our Phillies back then. I don't know where I would be. People say to me, you should teach a class. Like Fran Dunphy, who was the basketball coach at Temple and LaSalle and Penn. He said, you should come in and talk to my class about sales. And I said, Dumph, it's not about sales. It's about relationships. And that's what golf has been able to do for me. Kevin, think about it. We haven't talked, but maybe 1 or 2 times in the last 35 years. And yet we can have a conversation about golf and what's going on. And we can talk for hours at end and relive stories. But what golf did is to create relationships. And through relationships really determine results. And that's what golf has done for me. I can pick up the phone and I can play anywhere in the country. I know somebody who knows somebody. Can you get me on here? I'm going there. Hey, can you call that guy for me? Just a soft introduction. And it's been magnificent. I know, like my daughter's like, Dad, can you just go to our seats and stop talking to people? But that's not who I am. It's a world we live in. And you know what? I'm glad to see people. I like people. There's a lot of good in people with what we're doing at First Tee. I mean, Bill has really charged the engine, Bill Heineman, but we need money. And you know what? People are willing to give to us because they see what we're doing and what a difference we're making. But we're not afraid to ask because it's genuine and we're making a difference one kid at a time.
Yeah, well said. If you had one golf tip to give that could help anybody, good player, amateur or whatever, what's your silver bullet?
My silver bullet, if you're teaching a young kid, teach them how to hit it far first. You can always figure out how to hit it straight. Teach them how to hit it far first. And if I was given a life lesson, don't let it get you down. Always enjoy with who you're with. You can be frustrated, but don't let it carry forward. Make sure you enjoy the day because we're not promised tomorrow.
That's true. Leave it on the golf course. And I know a lot of people say a bad day on the golf course is better than a good day at the office. I'm not fully there yet. A bad day on the golf course bothers me, but I'm a lot better leaving it on the golf course because I know I was fortunate to have the opportunity to play. And Mike, I was fortunate to have an opportunity to play with you years ago and to have this conversation. Thanks for being my friend in golf and for all you do for the game. And just keep on trucking along. I know you will because, I mean, my God, what else would we do?
Exactly, Kevin. What would I do with all my spare time? I don't know. Thank you for having me and best of luck.
Wish you all the best. You got to come back sometime. Michael Brown has been our guest here on Party Time, brought to you by Party Drinks. If you're looking for a drink alternative on the golf course, try a Party. Real cocktails made by real golfers. Perfect for you. And if your dream is to live in a golf resort community like Lakewood National Golf Club in the greater Sarasota area, Gene Walsh and Vince Fizzicaro from suncoastdreams.com, a division of Fine Properties, have you covered. For Michael Brown, I'm Kevin Walsh. We'll see you again next time on Party Time, my golf story.
You've been listening to It's Party Time, my golf story, brought to you by Party Drinks. Classically designed golf drinks for golfers by golfers, and the golf real estate pros Gene Walsh and Vince Fizzicaro. For your Southwest Florida real estate needs, check them out at suncoastdreams.com or call 941-220-4000.